Last time Johann Maree was on the show, which was last week, we opened up quite a debate and a lot of questions came in around this specific thing. And this is moving to a fee-based business. And the response is immediate. The questions came in fast and direct. And in some cases, it does make one sort of uncomfortable to think about these things and say like, but we all have different places where we come from and sort of different views of the world and different realities. So today we're doing part 2, and we're not going to, try with soft answers and that we're not going to dodge the hard bits. We're going to talk about how, books are valued. This is how most people talk about this. We might have a bit of a different take on that. We'll talk about that, how fees are collected. And then also what happens when clients do not pay. That was a big question last week, and whether lifetime value of clients still matters in today's world, in this world that we are in, and what it really takes to move from your current model to a fee-based business. That was also a big question. So if you've been thinking about this change, but have not known where to start, then this episode is for you. Welcome to Propulsion, the weekly show for financial planners and advisors who want to build better, more successful businesses. I'm your host, Francois du Toit, and every week we dive into the practical strategies that matter, from growing your client base and improving your services to developing yourself and your team. Whether you're running your own practice or you're part of a larger firm, you are guaranteed to find actionable insights to help your business thrive. So with that, welcome, and let's get into today's episode. All right, so Johann joined us previously for a conversation last week that sparked a lot of strong reaction and even more questions from the audience. So today he's back for part 2, and we take on those questions directly and continue the conversation about fee-based advice, what it means in practice, and what it could mean for the future of advice businesses. So Johann, welcome back.
Goeiemorgen.
Goeiemorgen. It looks a bit chillier there than last week we spoke.
Yeah, we've got a big storm here, pouring with rain, and the wind is howling. Yeah, so winter is coming.
Yeah. Good stuff. So for those who don't know, that's a Game of Thrones reference. Righty, so Johann, let's get into it. We're going to tackle a lot of the questions that was posed that we didn't get to last week. So I'm not going to go back and revisit what we said last time. If you missed it, you can go watch last week's episode. So I want to get straight into it, right? So obviously we were talking about how you can drive value for your business, etc. And then the question is, okay, but how do I value my book of business, or how do I value my book, or what is my book's value? And I'm quite interested to hear, how do we go about that, and what are your views around that? Because I think you touched on something that you and I spoke about that I think is very relevant about how we look at this. So I'm going to hand over to you, and then let's talk.
Righty, yeah. So to answer your question, you can turn the slide on there as well. But it is, if you're asking that question, it's actually a serious business management problem. So we talked about business management, practice management. So if you're running a business, you shouldn't be asking that question because you're already doing it. But the good news is many advisors aren't alone, that there are probably about 30 to 40% of advisors internationally that guess what the business value is. They call it the rule of thumb. And invariably, they're wrong. So the experts tell us that there are 3 basic approaches. So if you are a business valuator, they use a market approach, which is kind of rule of the thumb, but they've looked at a whole bunch of businesses that have come over a 12-year period that have come through, and they've valued them, and they can give you a rule of thumb. But that alone isn't enough. And then you've got the asset-based approach. And the asset-based approach is really not applicable to financial advisors because it means you have to build up a serious asset base. It's more accounting, asset less liabilities, and whatever you've got left. And then the one that we really use is the closest for financial advisors, the income approach. So we're looking at future cash flow, discounted cash flow, looking into the future. But that's not enough. The real value is taking all of those 3 values and getting an average. And that gives you a much more solid average for your business. So how do you go about putting some things in place to get a value for yourself. So the quick way is there in slide 1 is really pull your revenue, recurring revenue for the last year. The last 12 months, how much recurring revenue? If it's 0, well, then that's basically your commission. Commission isn't recurring revenue. And as soon as you're running in commission, your multiple drops, and you'll see just now, so it's roughly about 1 time. So in other words, commission business only, whatever you earn in the last 12 months, that's what someone might pay you for your business, because they have to do some due diligence. If it's a strong recurring based business, you're going to get between 2 and 3.5. And if there are more buyers than sellers, that multiple goes up. Now, what would a seller or buyer be looking for? He's be looking at the value driver. So are we looking at client retention rate? Do you have client attrition? Are they sticky? Moira Summers talks about the stickiness of advice. We talk about the stickiness of clients to you. So if you've got clients that have stuck to you over a long period of time and they're paying a fee, that's a good sign. Then we have this fee or commission split. Are you weighted in commission or more weighted in fees? That has an impact on your business. Then we look at your quality of your clients. Dina Katz used to say, if you can fog a mirror and you've got a couple of cents in your pocket, I'll sell you something. And she's an American practice management specialist. She's a professor, I think, at Texas State University, and she's a very, very good financial advisor. So you need to segment your clients. We talked last week, I said, Business Health in Australia said you treat clients with love, respect, but you don't treat them equally. So a buyer will be looking at the different levels of segmentation that you have. They're going to be looking at the team, the support that you have. And I'm going to put it in there, you're going to start having to look at Kofi readiness. So if you're thinking about selling your business in the next year, how much work have you done in terms of that? Then the final one is, well, if you want to increase the value of your business over the next 3 years, and what is quite sad is a lot of advisors just pull the plug and leave. And they can do a couple of things, and they can double or treble the value of their business. And I would encourage advisors to think about that, surely, because it's a lifestyle practice, nothing wrong with that. But if you can increase the multiple 2 or 3 times by being a little bit more Kofi ready or business astute and put some structure in, that's awesome. So, set a target for what you think your business could be worth and what you want out of that. Work backwards and put these things in place. And bottom there, I've got sort of a 90-day action plan. And I think, Francois, we're going to share these slides, make them available for your community. So there'd be a couple of things you can do is look at your gross revenue multiple. You can list the 5 things that reduce that. So it's commission dependency, no documented process, single advisor, one-man show, as we call them. That all drops the value of the business, even if you are commission. So you could, get 3 months out of the 12 because your business is in such a terrible state, hopefully not there, or you get 12. And then you set a target for those 3 years and build towards that. Invest in your business and grow. It's sad to see someone who spent their whole life in the business not wanting to invest a little bit more to create that leverage. So that's how you calculate the value of your book, so to speak.
Yeah, awesome. And I mean, there is a difference. Just quickly, just maybe an additional question is, I mean, there is a difference between sort of focusing on the book that you have versus the business that you have, because people will pay more for a business than they will for a book, won't they?
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, the next slide there will show what I've sort of set out, just to show the community the difference between what we call a book of business. So and there's nothing wrong by selling your clients when you retire, because most buyers, if you haven't got something attractive, and remember, for most advisors, the clients are the same age as the advisor. So if you're in your 55 and you're 60, because that's the average age of advisor internationally, your clients tend to be that age too. They're drawing down on their pension. So if your business is an assets under management business or life business, those clients are past their sell date for a buyer. There isn't much there. They'll be looking at the younger generation, because we'll get to it just now. We're looking at the lifetime value of a client, the earning capability of that asset, which is the client. So if you have a bunch of clients and you want to get out the business and your commission earning business is a 1%, one-time multiple of your business, the only advisor there, you've got an old client base, you commission only, and maybe some ad hoc transaction revenue coming in. The institution is paying your revenue. The chances are you've got a book of business, and if you do sell, you're not going to get much for it. On the other side, the real businesses got the process, they got the team, they got the infrastructure. And that's something we saw in Australia. The smaller business started teaming up, not dealer groups. They started forming a community of their own with the license, and they start sharing the costs. So share paraplan, share call center, share offices, share equipment, systems, and you can immediately plummet your operating costs. Because if you think about the costs that are going to come through with the change that regulation brings, there is a cost to all of that. So it's probably more cost effective to team up and share. And that gives you a great opportunity, I think, to move out of that book environment into something which could become a legacy business, that you could be a shareholder in something and leave something that you've taken all your expertise with a bunch of buddies and you've built something substantial. It has happened, and there's a great opportunity, I think, for that to happen here. But the sad news is, if you're sitting on the left side there, you're going to battle a little bit. The onus is on you, and it's a massive load to carry going down the track. So you need, we humans, we need a team. And I think the way out of that is to look for a team or a home that you can fit into.
Thanks very much, Johann. Then one of the other things that came out clearly last week was, okay, so we talk about fee for service, and it's quite interesting. I mean, you shared a report with me yesterday. I think it was yesterday that Advice Pay actually it was just released now on the 18th of March or something, so it's very new.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting. So I worked through that and to sort of look at it, and that's obviously very much US based, I would assume. And what Advice Pay does is that they process these kinds of things that we're about to talk about. It's a platform that they use over there. So they've got lots of insights and things into there. And there's a clear message there, Johann, that, fee for service has really taken off, because I think 87% or something of the transactions that they processed were all for subscription based services. So which is quite interesting. Anyway, let me not run things ahead. But how are fees collected? Like, how do I collect the fees? Like, that was one of the big questions.
Look, again, everything depends on your business model. So let's assume you've decided what your business model is, and we're moving into the fee environment. There's probably three different models. The most simplistic one is the traditional asset under management deduction. Now, that you think that's simple, but in the fee environment, and listening to Leilani, by the way, I'm just quickly aside, Leilani speaking, it might seem strange or upsetting for a lot of advisors hearing accountability, cybersecurity, etc. That's not new. We've been doing it for 3-4 years now. Okay, so we've got systems, processes in place. We do all that stuff that Leilani mentioned. It happens in Australia. That's how we operate. Cybersecurity for one-man business is big. There is proportionality, but you have to have those things in place. So that's just a quick aside. So your business model here in terms of fees, we have conflict of interest. Assets under management is no longer a percentage. So what advisors have done is they still get the institution to pay, but the agreement is different. It's gone into a flat fee environment. So this old thing, if the market grows and my fee grows, the market goes down, I bleed with you. That doesn't happen anymore. That's not professional. So you charge a client fee for service, you build your value proposition, and you charge the client, if it's $1 million assets under management, you would charge the client a fee. Now, it's not rocket science really, because the contracts and the legal stuff has got to be in place. But in short, it's quite simple. If you're saying you're taking 1% of your 1 million fee, you can equate that to a flat fee. Pretty much. So you just try and align it. So you align your fee. So whether it's $1,000 or $10,000, flat fee. So whatever the assets under management are, your fee for that class of client, because you are going to segment the client, you charge a fee, 10 Rand or 10,000 rands per annum, or is it 5,000 rands per annum? So it's still based on the assets under management, but you're charging a flat fee, which more or less equates to your basis points. And the institution pays because you've got a contract and agreement, and basically it's instruction to the institution from the client to pay the fee to the advisor. The second one is just a debit order. So you're going to, like the procureurs do and the attorneys do, is they charge a fee for service. But again, you can't charge for fresh air. You have to have a business model. You have to have a value proposition. You have to have structure. Lelani talked a lot about processes and infrastructure and evidence-based and outcomes-based. That is all the meat on the bone of your practice. And that's the sexy stuff that the client sees. So the client will come and say, you could option 1, 2, or 3. The client selects what they want. You help them with that. You could have more than that. And then they charge whatever the price for that service is. So you will have to spend some time thinking about your value proposition. It's not something you can do overnight. We're talking a couple of months work just to think about that and get it right, because you have to have the collateral. Once you got that right, it's a straight fee for service, and that's what the advice pay guys in the States do. They offer that functionality to advisors to collect the fee and pay it over. So that's the monthly debit order. Just like you do, Francois, with your subscription, we do, 12 months upfront, or you pay me a monthly debit order. It's as simple as that. And then the other one is the invoice billing, which is projects. So what you could have there is, let's say, an onboarding client. To get to a financial plan costs you a fee. To implement the plan, there's another fee. And then there's also a fee for ongoing service. So the client decides, obviously guided by the advisor, what they want. And key to all of this, particularly in Australia, is the pushback by the regulators on ongoing fee. So the client contracts for life to pay you a fee for 25 years. That doesn't happen anymore. The red tape around that and the conflict of interests, the whole fee for service, the Royal Commission really pinged that. So the best is, we call it a renewal meeting every 12 months, when you should anyway meet your client at least once a year. You reconnect with your client if you haven't been doing that during the year. You renegotiate and you discuss what the proposition is for the next 12 months. So that's quite easy. So that is a project which runs for 12 months at a time. But now you have to have systems and infrastructure to run all of that, which brings us back to, are you a book or lifestyle practice or business? So simplistically, those are the three fee collection type models that you have, but they're built off the back of your infrastructure.
So, Johann, do you have any insights into because I think the one challenge that a lot of us have in South Africa particularly is that, the FSCA phase and all of that isn't very, very clear around, when can I charge for certain things over and above other things, right? So does this mean that if I go fee for service, just for clarity, that I no longer take any commissions on any products? I no longer take any ongoing advice fees on any products unless I decide to do the AUM deduction option. But I mean, in general, if I decide to invoice for planning work and for implementation work and all of that, then I obviously don't take any commissions anymore. Is that something that the regulator is happy with? Is that something that we need to still think about?
So look, there are advisors now. Basically, the Australian version is your commission is conflicted. So and that's why we had the attrition, apart from the educational standards, where advisors had to have a postgraduate degree in financial planning and do that in a very short space of time. So it was the fee issue, commission issue, and the education issue that just shut down the advisors. Again, sitting behind all of that, depending on where you go, you have to build an infrastructure. So if you're a commission earner, you have to change your business model to move into the fee space. But if you still decide, and the South African regulation, my reading of that is saying it doesn't say you can't have commission. It doesn't push either one. But reading into what the regulator is saying in the bill, we're talking about fair value, the transparency. We talked a lot, Lanani did again, about customer outcomes. It means that you're moving a little bit more into the fee space. So I'm not saying no commission. You could probably have a hybrid model. The big thing here is all about disclosure. As long as you can deliver and you can disclose to the client and you can provide the value and they're happy to pay you, then I think you're good. But again, you've got to think about your agreements, your documentation, the infrastructure you put in place. Now, that's not something you can just get off the shelf. It's not something that a compliance officer gives you. You have to, and this is my concern in terms of what I'm hearing from South Africa, there is work to be done. You're going to have to do some hard yards. The good news is once you put it in place, it just works. It works fine. The big thing, they talk about leading a horse to water and it doesn't drink. And I just see everyone pushing back at the moment and saying, wait. It's not about that. It's about how do you want to run your business. It's not about I'm waiting for the regulator to make up their mind before I make up my mind. Do you want to be in this business or don't you? If you want to be in this business, do you want to be professional? Commission is not professional. We've seen it, and it's not me. It's happened in the UK. It's happened in Australia. I've been involved in the fallout there. I've seen advisors take their own lives, sadly. So this is serious stuff. So you need to make some calls. Don't sit on the fence and wait until July. You've got an opportunity here to think about things and mull things over and do your research. And it comes back, if you don't know where you are, do an assessment. You need to do a stock take. So that helps you make your decision. Fees, commission, sell, grow, buy another business, because there will be opportunity. There's going to be great opportunity if your structure's right to buy other businesses, to team up with businesses and build something really substantial. So it's not bad news. So the bottom line is really think about, are you going to be a commission business? There are advisors who only do risk here in Australia. So that's all they do. They get paid a commission and a fee. They've worked out a fee model as well, but they're very transparent and clear. That's their niche. That's what they specialize in. And what's happening is a lot of advisors are outsourcing their clients to the risk specialists. So we're starting to see in the advice profession the specialization of certain areas. The other thing in the regulation, our side, and I can see it happening there, you can't charge a client for a cup of coffee. You can't charge a client for a brochure. You charge clients for advice. The newsletters, the brochures, the coffee, that's part of the deal. So what's important in this environment is to understand just what it costs you to actually provide the service. So they're the three tests, who sets the amount, who benefits from the structure. These are the things you need to think about the next couple of months. And then particularly for the platforms is ask them about what's happening in Australia. Ask them how do we move from just the asset under management? How can we structure this so it starts looking like a fee? They might not know. We're already doing it in Australia. Ellen Gray's in Australia. Ellen Gray's also in South Africa. There are experts that can start helping advisors think through that kind of process.
Awesome. Thanks, Johann. Okay, so the other thing is around this, because I think the whole debate was around also that obviously at the moment I can't tell the product provider, as far as I've got it, that I agreed a fee of 10,000 Rand for the year with Johann. You need to pay me 833 Rand and 33 cents fixed every single month. Okay, because it's a monthly fee, so it's still paid by the product provider. It still comes off the investment, but it's a fixed amount versus a percentage, right?
Yeah.
So that they can't do at the moment, as far as I've got it here in South Africa. And the reasoning in the comments was that if the institution pays me, I don't have to go and chase invoices and bad debt and debit orders that's bounced and that kind of stuff. So that was obviously a comment that was made, and can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, look, it's easy if someone else is collecting your fees for you. It's nice. Um, the problem with that is that you start running the through the definition of conflicted advice, because you've got an institution. We're talking independence. We start professionalization, and it's not me saying that. This is what the regulators found. This is what the Royal Commission. You've got the application of an investigation into what all of this means from judges and top people in Australia. Outcomes based is coming to South Africa. Australia is already outcomes based. So it's already here. You've got a model. Yep, it is down under, and you do beat us at rugby, but we've got a model that we've 3 years ahead. Why do you want to go through the pain and reinvent your own model when you can just take the best? And that's nice. You can take the key learnings from the Australian model and the UK model and apply your own South African model. So it is easier, but the bottom line is, what does the client want? Because we haven't talked about the client in all of this. We talked to the advisor, and the advisor's missing out and losing fees. And are they going to send Jimmy Abbott now to come and fetch your fees? I don't know if he's still alive, but in 10 years, 15 years ago, everyone's talking about Jimmy Abbott to come and collect the fees. It's again comes back to your business model. So if you want to go to the fee model, who's your target client? What is the value proposition? How are you structuring that interaction? Does the client agree and understand what it is? For example, how many advisors actually have a one-page map which shows the client what their process is, and each step, whether it's 3 meetings or 4 meetings or 2 meetings, what the client is going to get, how the system works, and because of all of that, this is what it costs. The client understands. There's a good story about a car salesman who wanted, you're thinking about a car, and it's so weird because every time you want to buy a new car and you finally buy one, then everyone else on the road's got the same thing. But let's say you want to buy a nice German machine, and you go to, and you've been doing a lot of research and you've saved your money, and you go and buy this German machine, 4-wheel drive SUV, X5 or whatever it is. Dream car, you smell the leather, you get the drift, you sit in the back seat, there's enough leg space, the golf clubs can go in the back, but they don't have any stock. But the salesman says, no problem, here's a brochure. Just look at this brochure here, you can pick your color and your model here, and there's a waiting of 3 months. So what happens? You go and buy a Suzuki, because they got lots of stock. And when I was in South Africa in October, I noticed there's more Suzukis there than ever before than there were 10 years ago. So I don't know what's happening there. But so you buy a Suzuki, good vehicle, it goes, but you lost out. Now, all I'm trying to say there is that your clients want to see, feel, and touch. And if you are talking to them about financial planning without showing them what your model is and how it works, 10 years ago, I used to tell advisors, show the client what the plan looks like. Open up the plan. Show them what they're going to get from you. If you're going to get the same thing from my advisor every year when I go and see him, I'm going to lose that client, because what's the point? The challenge for the advisor, is to make sure that there's an experience. They talk about the client experience, client engagement. You have to make it exciting. Then the client will pay. The client never leaves your office without something from you. The client must have homework. Financial planning is a two-way thing. I've got to do a whole bunch of stuff as advisor, but you, Mr. Client, have got to do a whole bunch of stuff as well. And part of that process, you also have to pay me for my time. So we have to change our mindset a little bit. So it's about the structure, setting up your process. The platform story, again, I've talked about that, but you'll have to go and have a chat to the platform and work a way around it. They're going to have to think. The institutions are under the same pressure as the advisor, because GoFee applies to them too. And how they're going to make sure you get your fees, and how do they pay you, and what's that arrangement? Because they can't operate like they did last year, 10 years ago. They're going to have to, it's going to have to be, and I think some groups like yourself, the FBA, FPI will have to be part of that and seeing how can we develop the South African fee model. I think there's got to be community involvement and group involvement in that.
Yeah, happiness. Yeah, and I think one thing I want to say at this point in time is that I mean we've got members in Propulsion that are building a business purely on recurring subscription based basis, and people thought, it can't be done. It's being done, right? And this is and also people are paying for all sorts of other subscriptions, and this is sort of the thing that they understand and that they get value from, etc. So I think the one thing that we're battling, there's a few dots that are not connecting yet, and it makes you anxious when you think about this because we don't know exactly how to do it. We've never done this before, but yet it is being done. So it's not a question that does it work, does it not work? I guess another part of the question could be, is the market big enough, or are the first movers going to be the ones who capture that part of the market who is able and willing to pay, let's just say, a subscription fee for financial services? It's not all about subscription, but this is an example.
Yep.
Are they going to capture that, and the rest of us are going to go like, you know what? Now I must my deal with commissions and things because that's what's left, kind of thing. So I don't know. I was busy doing some research around trying to figure out how big is the market and what is the spending power of the market to be able to do this, because it's not just about having a fee for service, it's having the right fee for service.
100%.
Because if you don't price it right, you're going to be out of business.
Yep.
If you're going to price it according to what you think people are willing to pay, you're going to make a massive mistake.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be very, very clear on what the value is and what the services are and what your costs are so that you can price it right. That's really, and these are things that people have never had to do before, to be honest.
Look, that's why forums like this is good, and that's why after a cup of coffee, as you know, Anton and I got together and we built something quite extraordinary. I don't think we've seen, and South African community hasn't yet seen what is coming. And these questions that we're dealing with now are going to be in that platform purely to help advisors. The cost of what we're charging is peanuts when I do my exchange rate. Something, the work that we do here is probably 5 to 10 times more for the same thing. So I think South Africa is really, really lucky. But yes, it comes back to we have to use forums like you've got here. There is a method, there is a process. I mean, I can spend a whole day taking people through a workshop on what that transition consists of. People shy away from it because you have to spend a whole day thinking about your business. You've got to do the hard yards. It doesn't just happen. And then there's this whole issue of change management. You can't just sit in inertia the whole time. You have to move forward. You've got to push that flywheel and move forward. Let me share Bill Backrack's story. And if you do subscribe to Bill Backrack and his roadmap and that process that he's got is outstanding. It's proven over 30, 40 years, the success. But Bill is quite upfront, not me saying it. Bill says if you follow his recipe, his methodology, in other words, we talk about structure, the whole value that he offers, the whole engagement process, he says the best clients to target are yours. Don't go and look for them somewhere else. Target your clients. So to your point about, do you want to be first? Do you want to be leader of the pack or the straggler? I want to be leader of the pack in this whole new environment, because the clients will be the ones making the decision. They're going to be saying, this guy or this advisor has got a structure, he's made the change, look at the value he provides. There should be client portals already. You shouldn't be communicating with clients by emails anymore. Cybersecurity, we know. Australia was the fifth most hacked country in the world last year by emails. So client portals and digital stuff and the things that you are providing is critical to this change, this new way of doing things. You want to be first. Otherwise, the clients will be the ones that are going to make the call for you.
So, Johann, the other part then, so let's move on a little bit from that, and because we're gonna go the whole morning on this. Right. So the other part I think we can just briefly maybe touch on is just bad debt. How do
Yeah,
we, I think, one, avoid, because the best thing is to avoid the bad debt, or to
yeah,
not bad debt necessarily, but to avoid people, you're having to chase people for money, right? So,
yeah.
so if you can have
So,
a process to
look,
avoid that, that's first prize. But then if it happens,
excuse me.
you,
Yeah, it's very quick. It comes back to target market, client selection, infrastructure. So the theory, and remember, there's always theory and there's practice, but the theory tells us that if I have segmented my clients and I've got the right target market and I've built my infrastructure and value proposition, the clients will be paying. Unfortunately, the days 20, 30, 40 years back, when most of the old advisors remember that, you went to school at one of the big companies, you got a rate book, and you were sent out to go and find clients. It doesn't work like that anymore. So, so that's your bad debt client because you're desperate and the client is pushed into something that maybe shouldn't have got. Okay, that's 20, 30 years ago. Hopefully, it doesn't happen anymore. So, if your process is right, you actually de risk. That's why you have your pre meeting, your screening call. I call it the 15-minute pre meeting call. Before you even see the client, the advisor should be phoning the client, the prospect, and do a bit of screening. Research from the States, I think it's horse's mouth, they tell us that 85% of clients who go through the pre-screening call with the advisor actually stick. They actually sign up. But what most people do is they give it to the assistant to find. Now, who does the client see? The assistant or the advisor? So those are the little things that you start putting in place. I don't have an answer to say, well, send out Jimmy Abbott. That was just a joke, those that don't know me. But the bad debts, you try and stop. And that's what my slide is showing you. Try and stop the bad debt by putting in a process. Again, it's a difference. If you've got the infrastructure right, the clients will deselect themselves because they want it. The golfing story about LinkedIn is critical. You have to be on social media. It's exponential, the exposure you get, and you're creating your own community. It all starts working for you. So, again, there's a process for this. Advisors are going to have to go back to a bit of schoolwork, do the business management, practice management, spend the hard yards, and there is joy. There is joy. If you're doing all of this systematically, it gets better and better. I've seen it. I've been in businesses like that. Here in South Africa, you're right, there's some outstanding businesses that have been doing this for 10, 15 years. So if they're doing it, why can't everyone else? And unfortunately, got a good community. The advisors here that are happy to share and stand on platforms and tell people how they're doing it. You are so lucky to have that.
absolutely. I want to jump on to client lifetime value, if we can. So I'm just going to go to that one.
Yeah,
How do we, I mean, talk to us a little bit about client lifetime value, because that's often a term that's being, oh, you want to look at
yeah,
the long term, you want to have a
yeah,
relationship for long term, trust is so important, all
yeah.
that. But how do we evaluate and manage that? Uh,
Yeah,
you know,
well, so client lifetime values is sort of, let's say there's nuances and there are problems with it. We'll talk about that now. But I'll put this as a philosophy. You build clients under management, not assets under management. Now, client lifetime value is about building assets under management, which is actually your client. What revenue do they bring? How much fund under management they got? How much do those funds generate for us? And then we project that over 10 or 20 year time, and we get to a number. Say, this client, if I sign them up now, if they stick with me for 20 years, this client is worth $X. So that was a good theory 5 or 10 years ago because that was great because we pushed the ongoing service. Commission was for until 65, I had life cover. Then I could have that client from now to 65 and I could work out what each client is worth over the long term. So it's still important, but now we have to do a couple of other things because if commission's going, clients vote with their feet, clients are becoming more and more transactional, especially the younger generation. I see it even with advisors. I call it the shiny new thing syndrome. You must have seen it as well, Francois. There's a new app or there's a new product and everyone's buying these things, but they haven't done the homework to say, is it fit for purpose in my business? So we end up with a tech stack. In Australia, I think the guys lost count at about 16 different apps that the advisors are using in their practice and not one is connected. terrible. They're paying all this money for stuff that someone sold you, and it's not fit for purpose. So it's the same with client lifetime value. It's great for the old style. I think we have to tweak it slightly. So if we go to the next slide there, and we have a look at how to use it. So we look at the annual revenue per client as your step one. Then you subtract all your cost to serve. So just now we're talking about what does it cost to serve. Have you walked through your A, B, and C clients, because each one costs more? That's why you charge more. You do more. So what does it cost to serve your tiered clients? If you don't have tiered clients, well, what is the cost to serve? Because remember, business health, come back, you treat clients with love and respect, but not equally. So you can't have one client subsidizing another one. This cost to serve is important because you probably find when you finish the process just how much money it's costing you to serve the client. In Australia, the specialists here believe that advisors are undercharging their clients between 15 and 25% per annum. That can be a big number if you've got 50, 60, or 100 clients. So then you also estimate the lifespan of the client. So let's call it 20, 30 years, and then you can come to a number. What you might have to do is apply some percentage, because we found when I was at Mercer that clients drop off every 3 years. You have probably about 10 or 15% of clients dropping off. So you apply that number or factor to your calculations, and then you'd end up getting a number here on the screen of $60,000 or $90,000 present value, that if this client stayed with you, you would make $90,000 off them. There's this J. Abrams, he's got a nice book. He's got a book that you can read. He talks a bit more about that, and there's a methodology that he's got where he talks about the average annual spend for clients and where you can upsell them. He talks about the frequency of engagement and the length of relationship. So these are all the costs that you do to get the benefit of the client sticking to what it is. But the problem with all of this is I believe, which is the next slide, is AI. I think AI, we have to put it there. I'm involved with a tech company myself. I have, as you know, a colleague that I've been working with for a very long time, and he's doing extraordinary things with AI here in South Africa. It's coming. And I said last time that I do believe that 80% of an advisor's back office process work is going to be done by AI. They're already in Australia. There's a system called Clarice that does your file notes for you. It does your tasks. It does all of that. I have another colleague here working with me at Astute Will, and he has 8 employees. They're all agents. They're all AI. 8 people, and they're more efficient than the staff you used to have. So it's coming. And with that, it means that your clients that you thought were going to be staying with you for a longer period of time are no longer going to be there. So AI is going to compress your costs because it's going to reduce your costs. Remember, that's a good thing to reduce your costs because there's a cost to serve, so that could reduce. It might increase your stickiness of the client, and so that you might get more revenue from the client. But then the other caveat again is that if you go for a fee model and you have to resubscribe or re-sign on this client every year, there's more work. So I think that this whole calculation is going to have to change. I don't think you can put value in this formula anymore, the lifetime value of a client. The lifetime value of a client, to me, is a guesstimate of what that client is bringing into you now. And the challenge that you have is to keep that client every year. So you almost have to do this calculation on an annual basis, because these clients are not staying with us. You might say they are, but it's coming. So as I said, we've got a dual problem in South Africa. You've got AI coming and you've got Kofi coming. And I said last time, get the structure right. All these things we've been talking, then AI will fit into your business. They call it the enabler. AI is not going to replace the advisor. So we've seen it all over the world. I've talked about it before, the whole move into soft skills, which will keep the client with you, because clients don't want to talk. Yep, they might be talking to the AI, but they want to talk to an individual. And I believe a financial advisor is going to be a master facilitator. You're going to be a master facilitator and coach going forward, where you're going to use AI and your technical skills in helping a client on their particular journey. And that's really what that bottom line is there, is looking at the little journey that you do and the value that you assign to the client whilst it goes through that process.
Johann, then also, I mean, we've spoken a lot about the fee side of things, and we've looked at the lifetime value and all sorts of things. But there's also a way, because I think the biggest question is, how do I go from what I'm doing today into a fee for service? How do I transition over to that? So I know you've got the 7-step fee transition roadmap.
Yeah, so if you find that slide while I talk. So yeah, look, this is the most exciting part of moving to fees, because you get to know your business seriously well. You can't move to fees you don't know your business. So you have to roll up the sleeves and get in. So again, I'll say get an assessment done, do what we call an audit or an assessment of your business. And part of that is really, look, I'll say up front, this is frightening. If you haven't done this before, it is really scary. So best way to do this is take stock of your clients. And if you haven't segmented your clients, you need to start thinking about your niche client, your ideal client. Pareto works. I've done it in lots and lots of businesses. Advisors have fought with me. There's some serious practices in South Africa that disagreed entirely with segmentation clients. In fact, that we stopped working with them because they wouldn't do that. And I used to get calls 6 to 8 months late, say, guess what? We've taken the plunge. And some of those businesses are now some of the top 10 businesses in South Africa. They've segmented, they've put structures in place, they've worked out that 20% of their clients are bringing in 80% of the revenue. And if the whole relationship thing is also a problem when you are looking at this transition with your existing clients. If a client is your friend and he's a good guy that you have drinks in the pub with, and he's always introducing to you to people like him, but they don't pay, they don't giving you the big fees. So that's part of client segmentation. The other thing that you need to do is think about having a client advisory panel. So talk to your best clients. So here, look at your clients. There are spreadsheets available that you can do that. Go to ChatGPT and say to ChatGPT, what is the structure, best structure for client segmentation and ranking my clients? And that will help you with step one there, where you do the bit of segmentation. You've identified your top clients. Now the ideal thing is to find more of those. Success leaves clues. These clients that you're following, they go to the same club, they play in the same golf course, there's a clue, and you can build more of that. Build a service model that you can charge a fee for. So what have you done? Those top 10 clients, what have you offered them? What have you done for them that will prepare to pay? Because that, again, will allow you to start mass customizing your process. What is the fee that you're going to set up for the service? How much did you charge them, whether it's a commission or not? What was the cost of that? And that starts benchmarking. There should be the research again, and if there isn't, it will be coming probably by July when we will do some research on what is the average fee in South Africa and compare that to international fees. International fees will be out the park, but at least we can dampen it down, gives us an idea of what you charge. Have a face-to-face conversation with these top clients, what they want more of, less of, etc. They'll tell you. Then load whatever it is with value. This is what you do. I talked about that roadmap. This is my structure. This is what you're going to get. And if you have 3 of those, this is my structure for value A, this is my process for value B, and this is my value C. The client says, I want 1. Normally it's 3 and the client chooses the middle one. And that's where you want them to be because you planned it like that. That's behavioral finance. Then model this, the bridge, build a cash reserve. because before you make the leap, you need to have some fuel in the tank. It's like an emergency fund. You need to have 3 to 6 months cash because you are going to take a dip. It does happen. And the problem is when you start losing money or not making the same money as you made before, we all jump ship. In the company that I worked with, the big one in Australia, we lost probably 20-30% of the clients. And we changed the fee structure. It took us 1 year, 12 months to do that. And we brought at least 25% of those clients back over the next 18 months. So because of the shock, it's change management, it does get better. And what happens, those clients start talking about honesty, transparency, value. The clients start working for you. They really do. And then finally, if clients don't want to, rather than say you are fired and do a Donald Trump, you actually say to them, this is my product, this is the deal, and do you want to? And the clients will gracefully decline to take your service on and leave, because you probably find that these clients are costing you a lot of money anyway if you've done the business. So it's a good thing. But you're not the one who's saying you're fired. You go and see them, you send them the emails, and there's communication and structure around that. There's more meat to these 7 steps, but if you follow those 7 steps, you kind of get a structure on how to tackle this transition problem that is facing you.
And you also have a 90-day transition sprint plan. So I think we can have a look at that, and we can wrap up. But yeah, talk us just through the plan quickly.
Yeah. So really, just like I said in step 1 of the 7 steps, this is what you do in your first month. You pull your client list. You have a look at what it costs to serve, all the things that we're talking about during today's session. Look at your profitable, unprofitable relationships, because if the cost to serve is $3,000 a year or rand a year, and the client is costing you $4,000, you're in trouble. Well, that's a wake-up call. It's a horrible wake-up call to realize that you've been undercharging, and that's what happened in Australia. Forced the advisors to start putting more value and rethinking their process and what it is that they do. Calculate your gross profit margins and the cost to serve, and then you move into the 5 value drivers. And there you decide what your value drivers are. It's really, if you've done a good analysis of your business, things that you do well, where is your bang for buck, the things that create value for your clients, value for your practice, gives yourself your brand name. What are those things that you do, and do more of them? And then write down the biggest gaps. So you want to move to fees. What's holding you back from making that transition? Because you have to identify that and fix that. So if you do that in your first month, if you're a bit slow, 2 months, but it needs to be done. That's the point here. You need to do this to take the next step. Then you start looking at your tiered service model. And tiered service model, I talked about 3. You could have 4, but 3 is good because you're going to weigh the middle one. That's the one that you want all your clients to go on, because that's mass customization of that proposition. That's your specialist area. So you'll have the 2 high net worth guys, big costs. You're going to have, let's call it bronze, silver, and platinum. You want everyone to be taking the silver approach. And then there's a third model, a fourth model to those 3. It's the transaction one. It's what the attorneys do, the project. So you only do want a financial plan. And it's going to happen where people can say, do my plan for me. I'm happy to pay the plan. I'm going to go on to ABC website, and we've got them in Australia, and I get 5 quotes, and I get my own life cover. So that's coming. That's AI getting in there, but you still get a transaction. So have a look at the value that you deliver to those top 10 clients, and then transition. You have to experiment, transition with the clients that want to move with you. They're good clients. You've got a great relationship. They're happy. If you're lucky, they probably end up paying the same as you were before. It's just doing a different method. So instead of commission, they're charging a fee, and you've upped your value with a whole bunch of things. The big thing here is, what value are you creating? It's got to be system, infrastructure, and so on. In terms of the cybersecurity, you can't be working with Excel spreadsheets and no two-factor authentication and all of this. You're going to have systems in place. And finally, have the courageous fee conversations, document your experiences, move the clients across. So that's your 3-month sprint. If you are really keyed up and ready to go. If not, well, maybe 2 months per step, but you need to go there. Even if it's one client, that's progress. It doesn't have to be 3 or 5. Do one, get confidence and move forward. And the big message, I think, down the bottom is really that Kofi, to me, and people like Anton, is not a compliance project. It's framed in compliance project because I've been doing practice management now for 30 years. It's business management. I've seen the regulators all over the world. We call it convergence. They're all doing the same thing, and they're pushing you to run a better business. And those advisors that build off what we've been talking today, the structured, client-centered business model, will come out better in 3 years' time than where they are now. They will definitely, I've seen it, I've lived it, and it's an awesome journey to go on, not something to be scared of.
Johann, thank you very much. We had a fantastic conversation. We, I think, gave so much value today. So thank you very much. For everyone that stuck around until the end, thank you very much. And if you're watching the recording and you got all the way through, thank you very much for that as well. We will share the slides in the community, in the member discussion space, so you can find them there if you're a member. And so this is a journey that is definitely worth it. I mean, I've worked with people who's been charging fees. Johann has worked with the same people since 2000. So, these are not so new, but it's definitely where people are moving. And I think the more people get to learn about this, and in other words, clients, and sort of, if they had a choice between the two, some would definitely go like, no, just commission is fine. But it also, I think, depends very much on the way that we position it and the way that we sell it to them, which one they would choose. But I think a lot of clients would also go, no, but I would prefer just to know exactly what it is that I'm paying. There's nothing that struck me, Johann, as much as my dad looking at his investment statement and going like, what's this? I said, no, that's the platform's administration fee. And he says, for what? That's my money. Because he could see the fee, and it was like over a 3-year period, something like 30,000 Rand. It wasn't like 10,000 Rand a year kind of thing. And he's saying, for what? Like, why are they taking my money? Like, and I think the more transparent these fees are becoming, the more people are going to go like, why am I paying for this? What am I getting for this? And that's the reality of where we are moving to. It's not to say that fees is the only thing. I think like anything else, the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. But it is something that there's going to be a part of your clients that's going to prefer that. And do you want them to go to the other guy who does offer that, or do you want to offer that as part of your value proposition? So I think a very important thing to go and consider over the next couple of days or weeks and so forth. So, Johann, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It. I know it's quite late in Australia by now. I think the sun might be under now as well.
It's starting to get a bit dark now.
Anyway, but thank you very much. And again, to everybody who's joining us, thank you so much. Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Cheers.
Bye now.
As you know, we typically don't go over time, but these are very important conversations and something that I feel like, yes, let's just finish the conversation. So thank you very much for sticking with us. That's it. So we'll be back next week, same time, same place. Please go have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, be blessed and prosper. We won't be back next week. I think next week is Good Friday, if I'm recalling correctly. So if that's the case, we won't be back next week. So we'll be the week after that. So sorry for that. We're not back next week. Anyway, have a fantastic time. Enjoy your weekend and your Easter and all of that, if that's something you celebrate. And we'll be back then the week after. But until then, stay safe, be blessed and prosper, stay curious, and continue to raise the bar. Love you lots. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us on Propulsion. If you found value in today's episode, then there's plenty more where this came from. You can find all our previous episodes right here on the podcast, as well as on our YouTube channel. And talking about the YouTube channel, we go live every single Friday at 8 a.m.
until 9 a.m. and we host many different guests, and we also talk about very interesting topics. And on the live show, there's also some incredible segments hosted by some of the most well-known and influential financial planning professionals. So you are most welcome to join us every single Friday. Put it in your diary and we will see you there. And on that note, also please do check out propulsion.co.za/community for all of the goodness and learn more about how you can become part of our amazing community and how that would benefit you, your business and your career. So on that note, stay curious and keep raising the bar.